The mobile network is keep track of the mobile, where exactly in which location area it is located. So during the initialization process itself, the MS and BTS will exchange each other identification numbers, okay, and location area identity numbers and other things. So that will be stored in the visitor location register. So any call or a message comes to your MS. So the message switching center has to route the call. Before that, it will take the information from the visitor location register, where exactly it is in, whether it is in the home area or in the roaming, wherever the mobile is. In the initial initialization process itself, that particular location will be updated. Okay, that is one thing. And if it is in the call is in the progress, if the mobile subscriber is in the transit mode, then if it changes the location from one location area ID to another location area ID, and whatever it is stored in the previous memory of your MS, and the radio base station which is transmitting the ID number to MS periodically, it will check both. Okay, if both the numbers are different, then MS will request the BTS to update the location in the VLR. So once it is located, that is stored in the VLR, so based on the roaming charges or roaming area, so the billing information will be produced. So this is how location updation scheme works. And also we have studied how exactly the different types of paging, different types of the location updation schemes. One is called as static method of location updation, another one is called as dynamic location updation. So as we come across static location updation and the figure which we have seen, okay, in this approach, a group of cell is assigned a location area identification value, right? So that is called as location area identity LAI number. So that is allocated to each base station control. So in the each radio base station control, we have many radio base station, right? So that means group of cell is assigned a LAI number, means same BSC number will be given. So that's called as location area identification value, or it is also called as base station control identification number. So each base station, the location area, broadcasts its ID number in the periodic fashion over a control channel. Okay, so all the radio base station will get that location ID number. So the MS attached to the base station within the location area are required to listen to the control channel. Okay, and it has to store it in its memory. That is LAID of the where exactly the mobile station is under base station control. If the location area ID changes, then MS will send the location update message to the new base station. So when it will changes, when it moves to the new radio base station control. So this is how it works. And also once it is changes, then it will update the base station will update the VLR database located in the fixed portion of the wireless network, that is in the MSC. So now if there is any incoming message for an MS, okay, so a paging message will be sent to all the cells. Those are the cells which are receiving LAID of that base station control, it will receive. So where the MS is listed as being present, the MS, unless it has moved to another location area, it will respond to that paging. Okay, so but the problem here is in the static location updation scheme, we call it as a ping pong effect. So what exactly it is if the mobile station is between the two location area IDs, okay, so then it is very difficult for the network to update whether it is belongs to LAI 15 or LAI 16. Okay, so this effect may also faced in the handoff operations also. Okay, so while writing the paper, we can exactly cover the geographical area, but the coverage area of the radio base station is based on the radio output power or the threshold value whatever we have fixed. If anything is varied and some portion of the coverage area, if it is not covered by any of the radio base station, or it is equally distributed to two radio base station, then the problem will exist. How to consider this particular mobile station place or the location it belongs to the in this radio base station or other radio base station, because it is between the border of the two radio base stations. So that effect we call it as a ping pong effect. Okay, so in case of handoff process, not only received signal strength or the threshold value of the radio base station, they are going to decide whether it belongs to, say for example, radio base station A or radio base station B. Other parameters also they are going to check. But in the location updation scheme, it will be difficult. So that is the one disadvantage of a static method of location updation. Then in that condition, they go with a dynamic location updation. So they are going to see other things, like they are going to measure or determine the status, mobile status, and also need to update some algorithm for elapsed time. So for such a long time, they are going to take the particular ID. Okay, and later on they will think it maybe moves belongs to the A or B. Based on that, they are going to update the location, total distance traveled, all patterns. Okay, so where exactly it is moving or something like that. Number of different location areas it is entered. So based on that, dynamic location updation scheme will update the some location which belongs to the correct location. So that is called as that effect. The ping pong effect will be eliminated in the case of dynamic location updation scheme, but it is a rare condition that kind of situation will occur. So you can see the figure of location updating scheme, how exactly it works. As we all know that we have, see, this is location area identity number 15, and this belongs to LAIN. So n number of location or base station controls, it is under its control. So request through the control channel and response from the control channel. Then through the request and response, MS performs authentication and updates the LAI number, whatever it is stored to the BTS, and whatever the BTS will transmit through the paging channel, the control channel, that will be updated in the MS. Okay. Next, it will allocate the traffic channel. All those things are radio resources request means for the voice channel based on the type of service. It will request to the base station control A. Then through MSC, it will assign everything. At the same time, the location AI number will be updated in the VLR for this particular MS, where exactly it is. Okay. So this is how location updation works. That is what we have covered in the last class. It all through the paging messages, through different paging, blanket paging, and sequential paging. So next is between the two location updation information, between the two network elements. You can see here between the two location area identity. As I told you, base station control A is location area identity. It has so many radio base stations. Its coverage area LAI 15. Another coverage area is called as another base station control coverage area is called as location area identity 16. This is an example numbers which we have taken. And cell A1 is under base station A and cell 2 is under base station B. There are two base station controls, not between the two radio base station. It is between the two base station controls. Okay, how the information or location updation has to be done. So two base station controls are not in the same MSC between two different BSCs, MSCs. So that is also you can observe here. So it is not base stations are not in the same base station control, and these base station control are not in the same MSC. Both are different MSCs, and both MSCs are connected through GMSC. So these are the rare scenarios we can see here. Okay, so the same process will be base station A and our location will be updated in the VLR. Any call from base cell B, it will take the information from VLR A and the base station control will transmit the call to the particular cell. So this is how the location between the two network elements works. So based on the location updation, the call will be connected to the particular mobile station. This is how it works. Okay. So next we'll move on to the handoff management. This is also one of the mobility management function. As we all know that there are three important things which is under its process. So what are those means? First one is the network should identify the mobile station or the radio base station needs handoff operation or not. Okay, that is first thing. Based on the received signal strength, not only we can say that received signal strength itself is enough to take the decision whether the handoff operations to take place or not, right? some environmental conditions or some fading effect, shadowing effect and all. Because of those reasons also the received signal strength may low. Even though it is in the same coverage area, but sometimes in some particular coverage areas, we may not get the received signal strength, proper received signal strength. Only because of that, we cannot restructure the connection to some other radio base stations. It is not at all possible because it is in the same radio base station. So based on all those things, the hand of management or hand of algorithm has to decide. So whether we need to restructure to the new radio base station or not. So that is called as hand of management and the call is in progress. So let us see how it works. In addition to the location management functions, a cellular system needs to be able to track the location of a subscriber as that subscriber moves within a coverage area and to be able to maintain the subscriber connections to the system. Okay, moves within a coverage area and to be able to maintain the subscriber connections to the system. 1 minute. Hey, sound ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡು. Okay. The cellular system needs to be able to track the location of the subscriber. Subscriber moves within a coverage area and to be able to maintain the subscriber connections to the system. That is what the mobility management means. Wherever the subscriber moves without disconnecting the connection has to be continued. If the subscriber moves from one cell to another cell, the cellular system must have the ability to reconfigure the connection to the mobile from the current base station to the new base stations in the new cell. So this process is called as handoff process. So if the subscriber moves from one cell to the another cell, okay. So one cell to the another cell means each cell has its own, that is called as channel allocation. So if it is moved to some other cell means that particular channel has to be disconnected, whatever it is already exists, and when the voice call is in the progress. So without disconnecting it, it has to completely switch over to the new base station. So that process is called as an handoff process. Okay. So in the first generation cellular system, we call it as an hard handoff process. So why it is called as a hard handoff process means the handoff process for a voice call could cause a noticeable interruptions of the conversation, and in some severe cases, drop the calls. Right. So for that reason we call it as a hard handoff. So what will happen means if it is moving from one cell to another cell when the call is in the process, so reconfiguration of the new channel allocation for the new cell was not smooth. So the subscriber can notice some interruptions or a dropped calls can be disconnected. So that kind of handoff we call it as a hard handoff. And the second generation cellular system we know all using digital technology. This problem with seamless handoff, the CDMA incorporates soft handoffs into their systems. So, but all eliminating interrupted calls for data transmission, handoff can result in dropped packets. Okay, so in the second generation cellular system, it is not only restricted to voice call, also for data transmission, right? But for voice call, it was a soft handoff. That means without any noticeable interruption, the call can be connected even though when it is moving from one cell to another cell, even in the voice call. So without having any call drops, we can connect it. So that is called as soft handoff. But in CDMA, that is second generation cellular system, is completely digital technology for data transmission. They are going to transmit the packets. So handoff can result in dropped packets. Some of the packets may lost. Okay, but severe problem for bursty or packet data traffic only needs intermittent connectivity, and retransmission can be employed to counteract lost packets. So that was happened in the second generation cellular system. So voice was a soft handoff, but it started data transmission during the second generation cellular system. But most of the packets will be lost when the mobile moves from one location to another location. through because of there is a digital communication system, so the lost packets can be retransmitted. So this is how second generation system onwards we call it as a soft handoff. Next, handoff basically consists of two-step process. First, handoff management algorithm determines that handoff is required and initiates the process. First, you need to determine whether the handoff operations need to carry out or not, and initiates the process. And the second step consists of physically restructuring the connection and then updating the network databases and the new connection and location of the MS. So that is the second step process. First is to decide. Second one is to physically restructure the connections to the new radio base station. Not only that, and also the location as well as where exactly in which location it came, that updation will be done in the database about the new connection and the location of the MS. So these are the two-step process which has to be carried out in handoff process. For the handoff process to be successful, the network elements involved in the delivery of either voice or data services to the mobile must be aware of all changes to the mobile's point of access. Okay. On the air interface side of the system, the former serving point has to be informed about the change or dislocation of the mobile where the mobile is re-associated with the system through the new serving point. On the network side, the various databases must be updated to reflect the correct location of the MS. So this is necessary for the correct routing of data packets or voice call. So this is how it works. So these are the process has to be taking place. So both the sides, whether it is disconnected network from the old radio base station, there also information has to go. And once it is restructured to the new radio base station, that has to be updated in the database. So all those things to be happened when the handoff has occurred. Next is handoff control. So there are three types of handoff control. One is called as network controlled handoff. Another one is called as mobile controlled handoff. And third one is called as mobile assisted handoff. You can see here NCHO. That is called network controlled handoff. And MCHO is nothing but mobile controlled handoff. MAHO is mobile assisted handoff. Okay. So you can see here the network controlled handoff means, you can see here the algorithm used to determine when to make an handoff can be located in a network element or in mobile terminal. Okay. For cellular system, the network controls the handoff for voice calls, and this is known as network controlled handoff or network controlled handoff. NCHO. So that is nothing but the cellular systems will decide based on the network elements like base station control, that will take the decision whether the handoff operation has to take place or not. That is called as network controlled handoff, or we can say network assisted handoff. Okay, based on the received signal strength from the mobile station, so the network or the base station control itself will decide whether it is based on the threshold value or the output from the RSS or any bit error rate. All those things it is going to consider, and it will assist the network has to take handoff has to take place. That is called as network assisted or network controlled handoff. Similarly, if the mobile terminal controls the handoff, then mobile will decide, I am going to some other radio base station, and the other radio base station power is interfered to this particular coverage area, or the received signal strength from the MBS is reduced. So all those things, based on that, mobile will request the radio base station handoff has to take place. That is called as mobile controlled handoff. And the third one is if the information supplied by the mobile helps to determine the handoff should occur. This is known as mobile assisted handoff. So anyway, network will take the decision based on the received signal strength from the MS. Okay. Along with that, mobile also will inform to the radio base station, I'm moving to some other coverage area. I'm getting more power than your output power. So I'm moving to some radio base station nearby. So it is going to give the information to the radio base station. So that is called as mobile assisted handoff. In all the cases, the handoff controlling entity uses some particular algorithm that employs various measures of system performance to make a decision about the need for handoff. So each and every elements within cellular system, it may be a radio base station or it may be a mobile system. So both will take some measures or the system performance to decide or take the decision about the need for handoff. So that is called as mobile controlled handoff, mobile assisted handoff, or network controlled handoff. Let us see the process of handoff operation between the two radio base stations. Both are controlled by the same base station control, and it is updated in the MSC VLR. So let us see now, when the mobile station is moving, maybe it is in cell A, it is moving to cell B. Okay. So what makes the major changes in this? The radio base station will observe the received signal strength of the MS. Similarly, MS will observe the received signal strength of the BS. It is below threshold, the signal which is received at the receiver. There is some threshold value. Up to this much, the mobile can transmit or receive the signal. If it is below or above that, then it will decides it is moving to some other coverage area, right? So handoff algorithm decides the handover is necessary due to the relative received signal strength levels from the MS measurements. Okay. Then once it is come to know that it is moving to cell B, then connection needs to be restructured. Network databases are updated. So these two are the major steps which is taking place based on the received signal strength A compared to received signal strength of B. Received signal strength of A means base station A when it is compared to received signal strength of B. If it is in RSSA, if it is moving towards RSSB means obviously MS receives the maximum signal strength or the output power from the BTSB. Then MS will assist the BTS and moving towards this. Then BTS also will check the MS output power. Then handover message or the handover control information is transmitted to BSC. Then what BSC will do? It will request all the radio base station under its control. Okay. Then it comes to know that base station B is receiving the maximum signal strength from the MS because it is near to this coverage area. Then base station C will assign the new channel to the base station B, and the same information is transmitted to BTSA through the voice channel. That information has to be collected by the MS, and whatever the channel allocation will be done, which is transmitted through this old radio base station, it is attached to the new radio base station with those information. Okay. So the handover request is transmitted from BSC to BTSA to MSC, and then MSC to BTSB. Then BTSB will inform whether it is attached or not. So once handover operation is over, then it will send the information to BSCB, and the old channel, whatever it is assigned for BTSA, it will be disconnected. So that is called as new structured connection, or restructure the connection from old radio base station to new base station with a new channel allocation. Okay. So once it is done, then the date information will be updated in the VLR, because any new call comes, it should not go to base station A because now it is in base station B. So that has to be updated in the database. So this is called as the handoff operation. So only, as I already told you, based on the environmental conditions, fading means fluctuation in the received signal strength, or some shadowing effect or something else. Based on that, the received signal strength of MS and BTS, because of path loss, the received signal strength may reduce even though the mobile station is the same radio base station. So they cannot consider only based on the RSS. Okay, they have to take what is the distance traveled, all those things it has to take care of that. So along with the received signal strength, okay. So what are the measurement it is going to do to decide the handoff operations to take place or not? So the most common measurement used in this process is the received signal strength from the mobile point of attachment and received signal strength of the nearest other possible points of attachment of radio base station in adjacent cells. Okay. So it is going to check the RSS of that MS from the fix where exactly it is attached, and also it is going to check the RSS of the radio base station B, nearest radio base station. Other associated measurement that might be included in the process are, as I told you, path loss, okay, and carrier and signal to interference ratio. SI ratio has to be reduced because of interference will be more from the other radio base station. So this is also going to be checked. Path loss, carrier to signal to interference noise ratio, and measure of bit error rate. Error rate will be high, and symbol and block error rate. and so on. So these are the other parameters which is going to consider along with the received signal strength. This is the major thing, but along with that, for proper decision, they are going to check the path loss, SI ratio, and bit error rate, symbol and block error rate, and so on. So a problem with signal strength measurement is that signal strength undergo extreme fluctuations due to signal fading, right? Effect that are completely random in nature. Error rates are also similarly affected by the randomness of propagation conditions. Okay, so not only depending on the received signal strength, we cannot decide. Okay, because of a fading which affects completely random in nature. That means we don't know when the environmental conditions changes. So based on that also the SI ratio may reduce. So not only that we are going to consider, we are also considering some other parameters like path loss, carrier to signal to interference noise ratio, and bit error rates and other things. So based on that, it is going to decide. So traditional handoff algorithm will initiate handoff when the power received from the RB is dropped below the received by the another nearby radio base. In addition, fine tuning of the algorithm has incorporated threshold levels and distances to prevent erroneous handoff requests and to mitigate the ping pong effect mentioned earlier. Okay. So with the both threshold and hysteresis handoff will only occur if the received power from a nearby radio station above that received from the current radio station by a certain hysteresis value, and the power from the current radio station is also below a certain threshold level. Shows the examples of possible different algorithms used for handoff decision making and conjunction with the signal power being received by the current radio base station and the signal power from the radio base station, that is MS, is approaching. You can see here. This is radio base station 1 and radio base station 2. Handoff. Received signal strength 1 is less than received signal strength 2 at A1. Obviously, A1 RSS1 is less than the RSS2. So this is maximum signal strength at A1. Then A2 will be RSS1 is handoff operation. RSS1 is less than the RSS2. This itself is more. This is the received signal power. At A3, this is A3. Here RSS1 is less than RSS2 and hysteresis. A4, RSS1 is less than hysteresis and threshold of RSS3. Right? This is threshold A. This is threshold B. Some received signal strength power will be decided for received signal strength of RSS-A or RSS1. This is the received signal strength of RSS-B. Okay. So if it is below threshold value means it is under RSS1. It is moved beyond that means it is towards the RSS2. This is MS position. Okay. For each and every radio base station has its threshold value. If it is moving towards position or the distance towards the RSS2, position towards the RSS2, then RSS1 will be less than RSS2. So this is how the typical handoff algorithm uses received signal strength measurements to decide the handoff operations to take place or not. So that is what we have explained. Nothing to worry, just go through it. Okay. Next is radio resource and power management. We have completed location management, or we can say mobility management. Then we move on to radio resource and power management. So the efficient use of radio resources and the need for power management has already been mentioned several times. Some details pertaining to this topic will be offered to the reader. Recall that in cellular system, the use of many closely spaced low power radio base stations allows for the frequency use and hence increased system capacity. 1 minute. Okay. So in cellular system, use many closely spaced low power radio base stations, and it helps for frequency use and hence increase system capacity. So at the same time, the closer the spacing of the radio base station, the greater the interference produced by the both subscriber and device and the radio base station with other mobile stations. So cell using the same channels. So as we all know that radio resource management is nothing but uh, channel management or the electromagnetic spectrum management, right? So that how it we achieved with the help of this LR technology by using low power radio base stations and using the same channel. So we maximize the use of radio spectrum or the radio resource, right? So we at the same time we come across with interference issues, right? If we go with very small distance or the used frequency used distance is very less, then interference will be more by the same channel or with the adjacent cells. So use of power control algorithms for the adjustment of both MS output power and radio base station output power allow for nearly constant received signal strength at both MS and radio base station receivers. This use of power control provides several system advantages. So the amount of co-channel interference is reduced and the risk of a signal coupler saturation is reduced and the power consumption of the MS is reduced. Okay, these are the advantages, and advantages are additional ramification in the reduction of battery requirements, which translates the longer time between the charging and later the smaller mobile terminals. So these are the advantages of power control algorithms, right? So we know that radio resource management means effective utilization of the radio frequency spectrum with the help of frequency reuse, and we reduce the frequency reuse distance. We can provide more system capacity, or we can increase the system capacity. But at the same time, we are facing a interference issues because the distance reduces, interference will be more. So based on the co-channel interference, we can say signal to interference noise ratio is more. If the signal to interference noise ratio is more, then the signal quality will be good. So the use of power control algorithms, we can also still reduce the interference issues through this process. So how exactly it is going to do means, as I already told you, adjustment of both MS output power and radio base station output power allow for nearly constant received signal strength at both the MS and the RBS receivers. That means if the radio base station is around 1 kilometer range, if it is in near to the radio base station around 500 meter or 50-meter range means how the transmitted power will be same from both base station and MS means obviously it will be transmitted to some other coverage area. So algorithm or the control algorithm, what it is going to do means constant output power will be received irrespective of the distance of the mobile and the between the mobile and the radio base stations. Okay, because of that, okay, so wherever it is, for example, from MS to BTS, the power which is sufficient for around 10 dB means whether it is 1 kilometer range or 5 kilometer range, it has to receive 1 dB, 10 dB power only from the MS. So if it is too far away means you should not receive more power. 30 dB if it is receiving from the MS or less means then SI ratio will be reduced, right? Or if it is nearby the same amount of power, that means more amount of power which is received instead of 10 dB, if it is 50 dB means the output power of the MS which is transmitted from MS to BTS will be very high and it may affect to the nearby cell. Okay, so what is constant power received means wherever irrespective of the distance between the BTS and MS, the constant output power will be received by MS from the BTS as well as BTS from the MS. So because of that, okay, so there are so many advantages. Obviously, co-channel interference is reduced, right? So even because larger distances there means if it is transmit more amount of power, it will affect to the nearby cell. So that is called as co-channel interference or adjacent channel interference. That has to be reduced, and the risk of signal coupler saturation is reduced. Okay, so saturation means more amount of power which is transmitted means that has to be eliminated because of maintaining the constant output power. And also the power consumption of the MS is reduced, right? So if it is near to the BTS means MS will reduce the output power. So it is saving the power. It is far away means it has to transmit more amount of power to reach the radio base station. This is how it is controlling the power management. So and also the reduction in the battery requirements. Obviously MS Near means it will save the power. If it is far means it will transmit the power. So battery power is required. Because of batteries, the power is less means it can extend the battery life as well as the small mobiles, smaller mobile terminals. So these are the advantage of the radio resource management, or the algorithms which used to maintain the constant output power between the BTS and the MS. And additionally, the power saving schemes are also being employed in the MS to conserve battery life. Okay, so new energy efficient designs for both hardware and software are being implemented, and radio resource management is being used to enable the MS or wireless network to optimize use of available radio resources. So these are the techniques which are used both in the hardware as well as the software to extend the battery life or to improve our efficient utilization of the radio resources and reduce the SI ratio, noise ratio or interference to be reduced. Next, we move on to the power control. As we already know that maintaining the constant output power, right? So co-channel interference is limiting factor of the reduction of the cluster of frequency use N. The use of power control algorithm for the output power of the MS and radio base station allowed system to use the lowest possible output powers to achieve the minimum SI ratio that can be tolerated, still provide good quality communication. This means that MS close to the radio base station, as I already told you, both devices should reduce the output power. And the mobiles moves further from the radio base station, both devices all likelihood to have increased their output power. In a reduction in the output power from the nominal design power for both RBS and MS will produce a reduced amount of co-channel and adjacent channel interference for other cells using the same frequency channels. Okay, so they are going to adjust based on the distance. They are going to maintain the output power. So if it is more or less, it will be ineffective. If it is more means it will affect it to other cells, causes co-channel or adjacent channel interference. If it is less means RSS power will reduce. So they have to take care of both. Okay. Next, that is algorithm, it is taking care of that. And since the power output of both RBS and MS must be constantly adjusted due to the number changes in the signal strength caused by fading and any motion of the mobile, several different methods for control can be employed in a wireless network. So to take care of all those things, the fading has to be reduced. That means flavor fluctuations at the receiver has to be reduced. SI ratio has to be improved. Interference has to be reduced. Co-channel interference, adjacent channel interference. So algorithm has to be designed in such a way that it should take care of all these issues. So one typical system algorithm for power control usually consists of two phases. The first phase occurs when the MS initially registers with the system upon power up. Okay. So when you switch on the power, the MS will, radio base station will calculate the distance of the MS and the radio base station. Based on that, it will fix what is the output power it can be allowed. In this phase, the MS uses the nominal or a maximum power output allowed by the system. The first measurements of signal strength made by the RBS are used by the BSC to determine the value of reduced MS output power. So power control messages quickly sent to the MS to reduce its output power. However, the first power reduction is usually limited to avoid the possibility of dropped calls. And the second phase of the process, additional measurement made by the MS power is adjusted as needed. The power output of RBS is also adjusted to a case of basis is to the required signal strength of the. In this situation, whenever a new connection made, the RBS initially transmits with the nominal or maximum output power as done with the MS output power, quickly reduced a point where more stable power requirements can be made. So algorithm adjusts the output power as needed. If the mobile is operating in the continuous transmission mode, the algorithm must be modified to take this fact into account. So this is how it works. Algorithm itself will taken care by initial step itself. Another possible power control method employs complex algorithm uses information about all the active radio links in a system to adjust the output power of the radio base station and MS to achieve the maximum also equal SI ratios for all the radio links. So output powers are usually adjustable incremental steps of 2 dB or less. Okay, this is how we can adjust the output power. So the radio base station will inform if the output power is more, you will please reduce the output power. If it is less, then it will request send to the MS, please increase the output power. So that can be in steps of adjustable increments can be in steps of 2 dB or less than that. Okay, initial registration itself will decide the major output power, but in steps of 2 dB plus or minus, it can adjust the output power to reduce the SI ratio. Any doubt regarding this? Yes. So next class we'll complete the second unit along with power saving schemes, and last one is security, and finally we'll go through some questions and answers. Okay, I'll stop the today's class.